Jenna, I just wanted to say, from one Latina to another, you're Latina enough. I don't care what anyone else says.
And the question proceeds, from one Latina to another, you are Latina enough.
Thank you.
Round of applause for that moment. Why is it that other Latinos have a hard time grasping that Latinidad can expand beyond Latin America? Like, we all were born in the United States. Does that make us less Latino than someone that was born in Latin America?
Well, Gato, did you think that was going to become such a big deal?
No, and it's one of those things where I didn't even realize it was caught on camera, that I was getting the "we're done, wrap it up." So I was just like, oh, I really want to say this to her anyway. So, yeah, I had no idea that it would be that other people that are not me are making t-shirts out of this. And it's funny because I try not to take it too seriously, because obviously, like, people are comparing it to the J-Lo's Mi Gente Latino moment. So I'm like, okay, it's a meme. But also I feel like on the other side of it, people have really loved it. So it's, I don't know.
I think after that moment, there's just been a lot of people on the internet just trying to come for you and tell you that you are not Latina enough. But why do you think that Latinos want to invalidate other people's Latinidad? Like, and I think that's something I stay up at night thinking about, going to sleep. Am I Latino enough?
Why do they care so much about how I see myself? Why do they care so much?
Yo hablo español, entonces ¿por qué quieren venir a cancelarme si yo puedo hablar español?
Pero si no, pasaporte mexicano, por favor, déjame en paz, déjame en paz.
Si no hay arroz, no como. Si no hay tortillas, no como.
None of that's good enough.
It's just, it blows my mind that people want to invalidate other Latinos for maybe not speaking the language, maybe not being born in Latin America. But does that take away from anything? Why do you think Latinos invalidate other Latinos' Latinidad?
I feel like it has something to do with being born in Latin America. There's obviously a different struggle than living in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Like, they have their own struggles already, so I can understand why sometimes they would be upset of like, well, you don't live in a country where XYZ is going on, you know? Mm-hmm. So I can understand that, but I think on the other side, a lot of the comments that I've been reading is like, well, you're not born in Latin America, so you're not Latino. But I feel like in the U.S., we're put in this box of like, you know, when you sign out those forms, and we've talked about this before.
Many times.
Multiple times. We're like, we have to fill out a form. The first question you get is, are you Hispanic or Latino? That's the first question that pops up when you're filling out any sort of like official document. Separate
from the other ethnic and races choices. That's its own question, and then you fill in underneath that. So I understand how in other countries people don't deal with that. So they don't like understand that in this country we are forced to categorize ourselves. And we could definitely be like, you know, against the system, I'm not going to categorize myself. But also, even regardless of how the system sees me, I see myself as Latino too. It doesn't even matter that I check that box. I also see myself that way. But I don't know. I really don't understand why us here in this country wanting to be part of where we come from makes other people so mad.
Yeah, and I feel like even with our own content and even with the things that we make, like, people in Latin America are always commenting, oh my God, this is a no sabo kid. Or they think that they're generalizing your experience because you are U.S. born. Yes, I have a passport and I got the United States of America. And technically, all of Latin America is America because it says America at the end of it. You know what it is? The thing that bugs me is that in this country, language has been a means of survival. So people that have immigrated and come to the United States have needed to assimilate. Yes, of course. Diluting maybe their culture in a sense. You're adding in a different culture being part of the United States. You know, like, I'm both equally. However, some people need to not speak Spanish because they get ridiculed. And this was maybe more generations before us. Now being bilingual is kind of cute.
Now,
you know, being bilingual is a key, and there's studies that say if you're bilingual, you're smart.
So, like, for my parents, so when people come for the language aspect, I really take that personally because I feel like they're talking to me directly. My parents made a decision not to, like, speak Spanish at home because they really thought it would make me worse at English. They were absolutely wrong about that, but they didn't know that. This was, like, the late 80s, early 90s, and they legitimately thought if we give her two languages, she's going to get confused. And then also kids are going to make fun of her at school where she's one of the only not white people. They were really trying to make my life easier. And now, you know, 30 years later, they're like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. And they say that to me now, like, oh, if we could change one thing, it would be that. But when people like come for me for not speaking Spanish well enough, they don't know what I'm doing at home to try to correct that. I take Spanish lessons twice a week with my tutor Sai, who is in the Dominican Republic.
Hi, Sai.
And I Skype with her twice a week, and she helps me work on my Spanish. So like, but people watching our little videos don't know that.
Yeah.
Or like, when I did that Latinos video, half the comments are, well, she just chose the one she can say.
That really pisses me off too. And I'm someone who speaks fluent Spanish and English, but there are so many civilization, like indigenous communities in Mexico, in Peru, that have not assimilated to Spanish, that they still speak their indigenous language. So by saying, oh, you're not Latino because you don't speak Spanish, you're invalidating so many other cultures and people that live in Latin America, that have been in Latin America from the beginning, that didn't assimilate to the colonizers. Like, also, if you're gonna be someone that's all about anti-colonization and hating on Europeans, you speak in their language, bestie.
And that's okay.
And that's okay
And
too.
that's okay. But don't come for everybody else.
Stand on your business then.
Do you think by not speaking Spanish, you're less Latina?
No.
Because the people on the internet go crazy about, oh, they don't speak Spanish. That makes them less Latina. Or you can't speak the language. How are you going to connect with your roots?
You know what I will say? Those same people also will mercilessly make fun of someone who isn't speaking Spanish perfectly, who is trying to learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same person. The same person that's like, you don't speak Spanish, is also saying, well, when you do speak it, you sound stupid. So what is my incentive to keep trying when even when I'm trying, I still get flack for it?
Yeah.
You know, like it's the same person making those criticisms.
There are these people that are clearly not doing their, I say investigations of their research, because they're coming at me for saying, oh, you don't speak Spanish, you've never stepped foot in Latin America. If you would have done 3 scrolls, 1, 2, 3 on my Instagram, girl, I'm there every week.
And I feel like I have to constantly revalidate your Latinidad.
All of ours.
Yes,
all of
of
ours.
yours. Like,
Half
it's like,
of this job is defending your Latin
these
identity.
people here that I work with were hired because their vast knowledge and capability of making content and representing Latinos, right? Like, we do the study, we do the research, we have worked our asses off to be able to be here and represent for our own individual Latinidad. Like, I'm Salvadorian, you're Mexican, you're Dominican, but we can also be other things too, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to be, and race is one part of it, because Latinos is not a race, it's an ethnicity, so there could be multiple races within that broad spectrum. So that's where people, I think, get crazy and are trifling, because we don't all look the same. I think this podcast, we're all 3 different shades. Today we had issues with lighting because we're all different complexions. But I think it's just, this conversation just needs to happen, and we need to call you out, because stop hating on other Latinos.
Yeah, there's so many bigger issues in the world. There's that's what makes me so upset, is you're really telling me to kill myself for lifting someone else up?
Yeah. It's funny how, and it's interesting because I think we talk about this, like, when people go and support Black films, that Black communities go and watch regardless, right? But we don't have that as Latinos. Like, it's like, oh, that movie is a Mexican movie, so I, as a Salvadorian, I'm not gonna go. Oh, hey, that's a Venezuelan movie. Like, oh my God, me as a Guatemalan will not go. Like, it's like, yes, being part of this different. My accent just came out. Oop, you saw that? You heard that? Beast? No, but I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, you were saying that, like,
We don't
and this is
support
true.
our
We don't
films.
support each other.
Yeah, and as Latinos, like, it's hard to get everybody, even though we are one of the most demographics that watch movies.
Latinos are, I believe, the largest demographic contributing to theatrical box office sales, even beyond the Black community. It's Latinos. You know why? Because we come from so many different places. So when you put us all together, there's more of us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
You know, we just need to come together more and support each other. We're all in different colors and sizes and shapes and sexualities. So why do we need to fight? Why do we need to invalidate people? Why?